バカ野郎。お前が俺に勝てるわけねえだろうが。
If one were to ask the fans of One Piece why they love the manga or anime so much, is it the action, the comedy, is it the lore? The surprising answer that you may receive is that it is the feels. The emotional content and depth in empathy and human feelings is what often keeps the fans loyal to the series. And this is especially the case for the emotions that stir within the members of the Straw Hat Pirate crew and affect their camaraderie, their nakama, if you will. And within the numerous arcs that the readers cherished early in the series, one of the fan favorites is the story of Water7 and Enies Lobby. While the story is noted for giving complex conspiracies with a tremendous amount of plot twists, action, lore building, and even depth, it was also the first of the stories that tested the Straw Hats in terms of inner turmoil. For the first time in their journey, the greatest threat to the Straw Hats did not come from an external antagonist, but rather from the conflicts within the crew. And though the rescue of Nickel Robin was the main plot of the story, the conflict between Usopp, Luffy, and even Zoro was one that created a tremendous amount of debate and discussion amongst the fans. So what's up, people, and welcome to another One Piece video. And today I would like to talk about the story of Usopp, Luffy, and Zoro in the Water7 Enies Lobby arc. But before I begin, I would like to give a quick spoiler alert. If you have not read to the end of Water7 Enies Lobby in the manga, or watched to the end of the episodes, I would suggest that you turn off this video, especially if you are very interested in experiencing the One Piece adventure in the future. Water7 Enies Lobby turns out to be one of the most impactful arcs in the early parts of the series, and so if you want to go in fresh, yes, turn off this video. However, if you are one of those people who are wondering what is all this hype about One Piece and the Straw Hats, why would somebody watch something that had such goofy looking characters and gag looking stories, and why everybody said that One Piece had such a deep, impactful storyline, then yeah, please join us in this discussion. And with that is the spoiler alert for this video, and as always, please watch at your discretion. Now, as far as the plot of the Usopp vs. Luffy story was concerned, it was a relatively straightforward one. During the numerous difficult adventures that the Straw Hat Pirate crew encountered, their ship, the Going Merry, had become severely damaged. Having received a great fortune from the recent adventures in Skypiea, the crew had decided to sail to the magnificent city of Water7 to have their ship repaired by the legendary shipbuilders of the Galila. It was there that Luffy and his crew learned that the Merry was no longer repairable and will need to be scuttled. Usopp, who was not there due to an incident, did not hear the verdict and only heard later from Luffy that the Merry will be scuttled, and this resulted in a major clash of opinions and emotions between Usopp and Luffy. And even after being explained that the Merry was no longer repairable, Usopp would not accept to have the Merry scuttled for a new ship. And the result was for Usopp to leave the crew and challenge Luffy to a duel for the Merry. Now, this action led to a tremendous amount of discussion and debate amongst the One Piece community. Some thought that Usopp was being too selfish and disloyal to the captain. The captain was thinking of the whole crew's safety, and Usopp only thought about himself and jeopardized the crew for his desires. Now others felt that Usopp had his reasons for making his stand, as the Mary was a gift from Kaya, a girl he cared for very much, as well as him being the main caretaker of the ship. Much of the argument for Usopp strengthened when the Mary that Usopp was defending turned out to be a key figure in the Straw Hat's success at Enies Lobby, and that had he not taken a stand, they may have all died at the end of this arc. However, the biggest argument against Usopp came when Zoro demanded an apology from Usopp before they took him back. Usopp had gone against his loyalty to Luffy and his commitment to the Straw Hats. If anyone could just abandon their captain, the crew will end up deteriorating into oblivion. The argument often was that Zoro was completely loyal to his captain and expressed his dissatisfaction of Usopp. Zoro was the perfect example of absolute loyalty and showed clearly how Usopp was in the wrong. However, from my opinion, and this is my opinion so please take it with a grain of salt, I feel that both sides had their points, and in fact the ability for Oda to bring up such emotional discussions between the two sides showed the brilliance of One Piece in portraying the complexities of human interaction. Even during the best of actions, great tensions could arise, and if this act displayed the great depth and empathy that each character played during the situation, then One Piece really did excel in human interaction. You see, Luffy, being the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, always led by his free spirit, empathy, and sheer physical strength. In each of the previous arcs, the crew relied on him to physically defeat the main boss of the enemy, and thus successfully completing the arc. However, in this situation, Luffy encountered a much more difficult problem, one where his responsibilities as a captain would conflict against his personal desires. Having traveled the sea with the Going Merry, Luffy was very much wanting to continue the journey on his beloved ship. However, the knowledge that to do so, he would be endangering the lives of everybody on board, he did have to take a stand regarding what was best for his crew. As Zoro stated, Luffy had to show his responsibility and leadership as the captain of the crew, and so Luffy took responsibility for the crew and decided to scuttle the Mary and get a new ship. From the logical perspective and what Luffy knew, this was for the best interest of the crew. However, if Luffy's decision stemmed from the best interest of the crew, Usopp's decision came from the phrase, "no ally or nakama left behind." It is true that part of the reason for Usopp's strong stance against Luffy's actions stemmed from his own insecurity that one day he will also be left behind. Also, because the ship was a gift from his beloved Kaya, he needed to defend that position. However, Usopp was never a coward that would put his own self-interest in front of his captain or his crew. This was best observed during the battle with Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas, where after being struck by a 4-ton bat and left for dead, he got up and stated that he will not forgive them for insulting his captain. Though a coward at heart, the great thing about Usopp was that despite being a person with normal strength, his will and empathy towards his comrades made him step up to the plate on numerous occasions, throwing away his own self-preservation for those of his nakama. Furthermore, as Luffy was not only his captain but his best friend, he would rather risk his life than to create problems between them. So why did Usopp go against his captain's will, even to the point of challenging him to a duel? And that's because he understood that he was the only one who knew the Mary was a nakama, a member of the crew, and not just a ship. Unlike the others in the crew who thought the Mary was just a vessel, Usopp witnessed in Skypiea that the Mary was actually a vessel containing a living spirit. Now this discovery led to the understanding that in this situation, Usopp was the only one who could defend Mary because he was the only one who understood that Mary was a living entity. So even if it meant going against his beloved captain and crewmates, he took an extreme stance of leaving the Straw Hat Pirates to save Mary. Considering how much being part of the crew meant to him, and how he finally found his place when he joined the crew, this was an action that Usopp took with a great amount of self-sacrifice. Now, with both Usopp and Robin leaving the crew, the Straw Hats for the first time saw their team deteriorate from its strong self, and the one who took most notice of this was Zoro. Though he could not understand why Usopp nor Robin would leave, he did understand that this was the greatest challenge for Luffy as a captain to keep the team together. Of all the people Zoro was watching, it was Luffy's capabilities as a captain that took his biggest concern, and after the incident with Usopp, he stated that he would watch the outcome of this incident to make his decision. You see, loyalty to the captain is definitely very important to Zoro, and as such, he took Usopp's defiance very seriously. However, he also understood that it was the responsibility of the captain to earn the crew's loyalty. This incident was the greatest challenge Luffy ever faced as a captain, and he would watch to see if Luffy earned the respect of him and the crew. Unlike the unwavering loyalty that people often think of Zoro, his strong loyalty for his captain came because of his commitment that his captain earned the title to lead the team. If the captain ever faltered on this act, his loyalty to the captain would end. This is best seen at the end of the arc when, after everything was resolved and the team was somewhat united, Zoro took a major stance that Usopp needed to apologize to Luffy for him to be accepted back to the crew. As much as this is a major argument for Zoro being against Usopp, this was more directed towards Luffy's actions of easily accepting Usopp back. However, this was not about loyalty. If Zoro only cared about how Usopp left the crew, why would he be making the same threat to his captain at this time? Zoro stated that if Luffy did not have Usopp apologize before returning to the crew, he would leave the crew. If the act of leaving the crew was the issue, why was Zoro doing the same act of threatening to desert the crew? If it was Luffy's choice as a captain to accept Usopp back without an apology, why was Zoro challenging that if he was supposed to be the unwavering loyal crewmate? Now, of course, when Zoro makes a threat, he never bluffs. His comments are always in full commitment, and he was absorbed, ready to abandon his captain and his crew if Luffy did not comply. Both Zoro and Usopp took a similar stance regarding their loyalty to the captain, and the only reason Usopp left and Zoro did not was because Luffy gave in to Zoro's demand while standing firm against Usopp. It is my feeling that Zoro was not really angry at Usopp for leaving the crew. He even knew that Usopp was taking responsibility for leaving the crew when he transformed into Sogeking, or the Sniper King. Usopp very much wanted to help rescue Nico Robin from the Straw Hats, yet he couldn't dismiss his actions of leaving the crew, so he donned the identity of Sogeking to be able to rescue Robin, while his real identity remained apart from the crew. Zoro, of course, knew immediately that Sogeking was Usopp, as did everybody else in the crew except Luffy and Chopper. Yet, instead of demanding Sogeking to leave or revealing his true identity to Luffy, Zoro let him join the rescue operation. And throughout that event in Enies Lobby, it was Zoro who protected Sogeking the most and actually even carried him when Sogeking was too battered to run. This gave Sogeking the ability to grow in character and start becoming the great sniper of the Straw Hat crew. And at the end of the story, when the Going Merry came to rescue the Straw Hats from the devastation of the Buster Call, Zoro finally understood why Usopp took so much effort to protect the ship, even if it meant risking his honor and his own needs. It is an act that both Zoro and Luffy would have done themselves had they known that the Merry was a living crewmate. Both Zoro and Luffy have always shown examples of giving everything they had to save a nakama. Thus I feel that Zoro actually respected Usopp's actions of protecting the Merry even if it costed his honor. Usopp eventually understood that there was a limit to protecting the Merry, that it was no longer the ship's interest to try to keep her alive. He understood that when the ship actually split in two after taking the crew and passengers to safety from Enies Lobby, that his desires to keep the Merry going was becoming more selfish than empathic. And so the crew, including Sogeking, decided to part with the Merry by giving her a Viking's funeral. Zoro understood that Usopp had come to terms and inner peace with the Merry when he asked Sogeking if Usopp was going to be okay, and was told Usopp had understood that there were times when friends had to part their ways and it was time to let go of the Merry. It of course did not stop the man from shedding the ocean of tears for his parting friend and crewmate, and Zoro let the man cry in his privacy. So then, why did Zoro demand for Usopp to apologize before returning to the crew? If Zoro had acknowledged Usopp's actions, why did he demand an apology? Well, for me, this was because he was Zoro, the great swordsman of the Straw Hat pirate crew and a true warrior. I feel that this wasn't about loyalty, nor about who was right. Rather, it was about duty and responsibility. Usopp was right to protect the Merry and give it the respect of a true ending deserved of their nakama. However, to do so, Usopp did challenge and abandon his captain and crew. Even if he was right to protect the Merry, he still had to take responsibility for his actions. It is what Zoro would have done had he been in Usopp's position. Zoro is not a blind, absolute loyalist, but he does take his duty of being a crew member very seriously. As a true warrior, he had to stand by his actions, and he expected the same of Usopp. This was especially true since Usopp's dream was to become a true warrior of the sea. If Usopp shirked his responsibility at this time and did not apologize, he would never truly have the proper persona and spirit of reaching his dream of becoming a true warrior. This focus towards responsibility rather than blind loyalty or even being correct is one that is quite common to the code of being a samurai. Many tales of the Bushido Code in fact deals with this point of responsibility rather than that of being correct or being loyal. One of the best examples of such a situation is told in the tale of the Chushingura, or the 47 Ronin, the actual official tale and not the motion picture that starred Keanu Reeves. The tale of Chushingura talks about a warlord who is framed for a crime by another lord, and is thus executed by the shogun, leaving the samurai who were under him without a lord and thus becoming ronins. The story is about the 47 Ronin vanquishing the lord who framed their leader and avenging his death. At the end of the story, though they understood that their lord was framed and that they killed the enemy lord in the name of justice, it was still a crime for the Ronins to kill the lord. Thus, even if they were correct, they took the responsibility and the duty for their actions, and all 47 Ronin decided to commit harakiri, or suicide through disembowelment. This understanding of being responsible for your actions is one that is valued very much in Japan, and Oda has often shown this theme throughout the story. Just because you were justified in your actions does not mean that you do not have to take responsibility for your actions. If you had to kill 1,000 people to save 1,000,000 and you were heralded as a hero to the 1,000,000 people, you still had to take the responsibility that you killed those 1,000 people and seek forgiveness for the relatives of those people. To accept responsibility for your actions is one of the key traits of a true warrior, and to hide behind the "well, I was right" type of shield is an act not worthy of a warrior to someone like Zoro. Zoro, of course, is the character in One Piece who takes this duty and responsibility most seriously. He has repeatedly shown acts of his duty as the first officer of the Straw Hat crew, and will continue to show many examples of such responsibility after the events of Water7 and Enies Lobby, even during the times when nothing is actually happening. So I would like to think that Zoro demanded Luffy to give Usopp a chance to apologize for his actions as a thanks for protecting the Mary and risking his life at Enies Lobby. He understood and hoped that this apology was crucial to Usopp reaching his dream of being a warrior, and if he missed that chance, he would never attain the true spirit necessary to reaching his dream. This was also important to Luffy as a captain, for he needed to empower his crew and help them grow. So if Luffy went and welcomed Usopp in without this apology, it would destroy Usopp's ability to reach his goals. And the absolute beautiful scene that was shown at the end of the story was when Usopp finally did apologize for his actions. There was a tremendous smile on Zoro's face as Usopp did what Zoro was hoping he would do. Unbeknownst to Usopp, I feel Zoro had a tremendous amount of respect for Usopp, and this action further strengthened their ties. And so the story closes with Luffy becoming closer to the true captain of the greatest pirate crew in the world and the king of the pirates, for Usopp to become one step closer to being a true warrior, and Zoro doing everything he can to support his captain and his crewmate. It is a tale that ended happily, but had a tremendous and emotional journey along the way. It is a story that goes beyond just good winning over evil or who is right and who is wrong, but rather it delves into the tremendous depth of character and the strains and burdens they have to carry for their responsibilities, and the camaraderie that a group of people can have even during the most demanding of times. And in the end, the readers are treated to a wonderfully passionate story of human interaction and emotion, and both sides of the debate turns out to be correct in their assessment. I feel Oda never wrote the story to be a story of who is right, but rather the turmoils that still can erupt when all parties in the story try to do the right thing. Despite One Piece being a somewhat comedy gag story of very unusual characters, the depth, grounding, and complexities that Oda puts into the characters and the story provides the story with great empathy that hits the readers in the feels. As such, I do feel that this is just one of the examples of the brilliance of One Piece, and it is one reason I continue to follow the story even through the 1,000 plus chapters to enjoy the joy and feeling one gets when traveling with the Straw Hats. Well, that's about it for this video, and thank you very much for watching all the way to the end, and I apologize for the length. I did want to make this video because I did find this story to be very fascinating, and I just wanted to hear your opinions with regards to how you felt about the story. Once again, this is just my opinion, and other people may have a different feeling. And the thing I really like about One Piece is that despite the differences in opinion, one of the greatest common feelings that all the fans have is that they seriously cherish the story. And so I'll continue with more One Piece videos in the future, and when I bring them up, I hope you join me at that time. And until the next episode, thank you very much, happy manga reading, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.